සීත සමීරේ රට වටවේ රට නලවන දිය රැලි සේලේ පුංචි පැලෙත් වචන දුරෙත් අසවැල් වැහේ මා උපන්න පින්කෙත ලංකා කඳු මුදුනේ මල්නුවරේ සීත සමීරේ රට වටවේ රට නලවන දිය රැලි සේලේ පුංචි පැලෙත් වචන දුරෙත් අසවැල් වැහේ මා උපන්න පින්කෙත ලංකා රකින් ඇසේ රජ කතන්දරේ උන් එදා මැවූ වැව් කිරින්තරේ වැව් රකින් ඇසේ රජ කතන්දරේ උන් එදා මැවූ වැව් කිරින්තරේ මේ අදත් ඇසේ වීර ගීතිකා උන් එදා ගැයූ වීර ගීතිකා මුදුනේ මල්නුවරේ සීත සමීරේ රට වටවේ රට නලවන දිය රැලි සේලේ පුංචි පැලෙත් වචන දුරෙත් අසවැල් වැහේ මා උපන්න පින්කෙත ලංකා අඳත් අපේ තරු පෙළත් අපේ සමරසින් සැදී අප රකීනිති ඉර අඳත් අපේ තරු පෙළත් අපේ සමරසින් සැදී අප රකීනිති නැගිනින්නේ නෑ සෝක වේදනා ලක්පොළු මගේ දේවි වාසනා මුදුනේ මල්නුවරේ සීත සමීරේ රට වටවේ රට නලවන දිය රැලි සේලේ පුංචි පැලෙත් වචන දුරෙත් අසවැල් වැහේ මා උපන්න පින්කෙත ලංකා මා උපන්න පින්කෙත ලංකා මා උපන්න පින්කෙත ලංකා මා උපන්න පින්කෙත ලංකා මා උපන්න පින්කෙත
Sri Lanka is ambitious, fun, fierce, fabulous, free-spirited, breathtaking, connecting, soaring, winning. Sri Lanka is fearless, curious, full of action, passion, fusion, fashion, vision. She means business. She is determination, timeless, full of kindness, luxurious, magical. Sri Lanka is art. Sri Lanka is craft. Sri Lanka is heart. Sri Lanka is a feeling. She's healing. A love story, a lifetime story, a brand new story. Earth's favorite island is ready for you. So wild, so pure, so vibrant, so natural, so majestic. So Sri Lanka.
cold part of the world, in a bold part of the world, in a huge part of the world, in a small part of the world, in a sad part of the world, in a happy part of the world, in a sandy part of the world, in a grassy part of the world, in a busy part of the world, in a sick part of the world, in a concrete part of the world, in a wild part of the world, and even in an imaginary part of the world. In every part of the world, one special cup from one special part of the world, called Sri Lanka, keeps us warm and well. One world, one tea. Ceylon tea, the world's favorite tea.
Palm-fringed beaches, misty mountains, tea plantations, centuries-old monuments, rare sightings, spectacular culture, incredible food, color and excitement, enchantment and bliss, and a warm welcome from our hearts. Sri Lanka is a land blessed in every way, and for centuries it has been a traveler's dream destination. As Marco Polo once said, Ceylon, for its actual size, is better circumstanced than any other island in the world. A place for unforgettable moments and wonderful memories. An island nestled in the southern waters of the Indian Ocean, Sri Lanka is surrounded by sun-kissed beaches, miles of coastline offering private secluded beaches, surf hubs, whale watching, deep sea diving, seafront resorts and restaurants, and so much more. Within hours of those beaches stand cool, misty mountains, breathtaking landscapes that are home to abundant tea plantations that have flourished for 2 centuries, sharing their wondrous Ceylon tea with the world. For the cultural enthusiast, over 2,500 years of Sri Lankan history and the vision of its mighty kings can be traced via colossal monuments, incredible architecture, and advanced engineering feats. The archaeological trail includes 6 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. The temperate climate teems with endemic life and well-protected habitats. Sri Lanka, in fact, has the highest concentration of endemic species in the world. Wildlife Park offer guided tours with frequent sightings of rare leopards, elephants, sloth bears and more. A land with a deeply spiritual past, Sri Lanka is the ultimate wellness experience. From its monasteries and meditation centers to its traditional healing practices known as Hela Vedakama and Ayurvedic practitioners, the modern spas and retreats, its focus on simple living and smorgasbord of clean vegan food. Sri Lanka is the perfect hideaway to renew your spirit and awaken your senses. Sri Lankan food is a unique experience that reflects the diversity of its people, with religion proclivities and the absorption of influences from the many settlers over time. The exotic and delicious cuisine is highlighted by the magical use of the herbs and spices that grow on its soil. The growing popularity of Sri Lankan food can be understood in all its exhilarating glory on the streets, in the homes, on the beaches, and in any dining setting anywhere on the island. Sri Lanka's 21 million inhabitants represent a diversity of culture, religions, and languages, each celebrating their own rituals and heritage while respecting and sharing the richness of the others. Peaceful and considerate coexistence has been a hallmark of its people. But for 3 decades, Sri Lanka was held back in its march towards peace and prosperity by an internal conflict, which was ended in 2009. The country has made steady advances over the past 12 years, slowly rebuilding and restoring trust. Sri Lanka has been driving reconciliation and unification at the very grassroots. And today, the Northern Peninsula, for so long the site of conflict and destruction, has emerged as a safe and modern region that delivers hope and prosperity to its people. Peace has uplifted Sri Lanka to embrace its true potential. It is a growing hub in South Asia with extraordinary prospects. Its strategic location on the maritime route that connects the east with the west and the natural riches within the island have always given Sri Lanka a significance far beyond its size. Historically, having attracted the attentions of the Dutch and the Portuguese from the 16th to the 18th centuries, Ceylon, as it was then known, was last held by the British Empire until the Declaration of Independence in 1948. Today, Sri Lanka is a bustling commercial and logistics center and a vital cog in the flow of trade between the two hemispheres. Cosmopolitan Sri Lanka, with its capable and educated human resources, modern infrastructure, technological prowess, quality of life, and connectivity, has attracted growing interest from global players. The state recognizes foreign direct investment as strategically important to the country's ambitions and its vision for people-centric economic development. Frameworks are in place to promote and facilitate greater investment, particularly in infrastructure, IT, tourism, food processing, and manufacturing. Sri Lanka's true potential has long been a well-kept secret. Famed as it has been for its beaches and tea, its cricket and its spices and sapphires, there's much more to this paradise isle. Come see for yourselves. The time is right. Visit, invest. Sri Lanka is ready.
සීත සමීරේ රටවටවේ රට නලවන දිය රැලි සේලේ පුංචි පැලෙත් රචමැදුරෙත් හසරැල් වැහේ මා උපන්න පින්කෙත ලංකා කඳු මුදුනේ මල්නුවරේ සීත සමීරේ වතවේ රට නලබන දිය රැලි සේලේ පුංචි පැලෙත් රචමැදුරෙත් අසවැල් වැහි මා උපන්න පින්කෙත ලංකා රකින් ඇසේ රජකතන්දරේ උන් එදා මැවූ වැව් කිරින්තරේ වැව් රකින් ඇසේ රජකතන්දරේ උන් එදා මැවූ වැව් කිරින්තරේ මේ අදත් ඇසේ වීර ගීතිකා උන් එදා ගැයූ වීර ගීතිකා කඳුමුදුනේ මල්නුවරේ සීත සමීරේ රටවතවේ රට නලබන දිය රැලි සේලේ පුංචි පැලෙත් රචමැදුරෙත් අසවැල් වැහි මා උපන්න පින්කෙත ලංකා හඳත් අපේ තරු පෙළත් අපේ සමරසින් සැදී අප රකීනිති ඉර හඳත් අපේ තරු පෙළත් අපේ සමරසින් සැදී අප රකීනිති නැගිනින්නේ නෑ සෝක වේදනා ලක්පොළු මගේ දේවි වාසනා කඳුමුදුනේ මල්නුවරේ සීත සමීරේ රටවතවේ රට නලබන දිය රැලි සේලේ පුංචි පැලෙත් රචමැදුරෙත් අසවැල් වැහි මා උපන්න පින්කෙත ලංකා මා උපන්න පින්කෙත ලංකා මා උපන්න පින්කෙත
In a cold part of the world, in a bold part of the world, in a huge part of the world, in a small part of the world, in a sad part of the world, in a happy part of the world, in a sandy part of the world, in a grassy part of the world, in a busy part of the world, in a sick part of the world, in a concrete part of the world, in a wild part of the world, and even in an imaginary part of the world. In every part of the world, one special cup from one special part of the world, called Sri Lanka, keeps us warm and well. One world, one tea. Ceylon tea, the world's favorite tea.
Sri Lanka is ambitious, fun, fierce, fabulous, free-spirited, breathtaking, connecting, soaring, winning. Sri Lanka is fearless, curious, full of action, passion, fusion, fashion, vision. She means business. She is determination, timeless, full of kindness, luxurious, magical. Sri Lanka is art. Sri Lanka is craft. Sri Lanka is heart. Sri Lanka is a feeling. She's healing. A love story, a lifetime story, a brand new story. Earth's favorite island is ready for you. So wild, so pure, so vibrant, so natural, so majestic. So Sri Lanka.
Palm-fringed beaches, misty mountains, tea plantations, centuries-old monuments, rare sightings, spectacular culture, incredible food, color and excitement, enchantment and bliss, and a warm welcome from our hearts. Sri Lanka is a land blessed in every way, and for centuries it has been a traveler's dream destination. As Marco Polo once said, Ceylon, for its actual size, is better circumstanced than any other island in the world. A place for unforgettable moments and wonderful memories. An island nestled in the southern waters of the Indian Ocean, Sri Lanka is surrounded by sun-kissed beaches, miles of coastline offering private secluded beaches, surf hubs, whale watching, deep sea diving, seafront resorts and restaurants, and so much more. Within hours of those beaches stand cool, misty mountains, breathtaking landscapes that are home to abundant tea plantations that have flourished for 2 centuries, sharing their wondrous Ceylon tea with the world. For the cultural enthusiast, over 2,500 years of Sri Lankan history and the vision of its mighty kings can be traced via colossal monuments, incredible architecture, and advanced engineering feats. The archaeological trail includes 6 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. The temperate climate teems with endemic life and well-protected habitats. Sri Lanka, in fact, has the highest concentration of endemic species in the world. Wildlife Park offer guided tours with frequent sightings of rare leopards, elephants, sloth bears, and more. A land with a deeply spiritual past, Sri Lanka is the ultimate wellness experience. From its monasteries and meditation centers to its traditional healing practices known as Hela Vedakama and Ayurvedic practitioners, the modern spas and retreats, its focus on simple living and smorgasbord of clean vegan food. Sri Lanka is the perfect hideaway to renew your spirit and awaken your senses. Sri Lankan food is a unique experience that reflects the diversity of its people, with religion proclivities and the absorption of influences from the many settlers over time. The exotic and delicious cuisine is highlighted by the magical use of the herbs and spices that grow on its soil. The growing popularity of Sri Lankan food can be understood in all its exhilarating glory on the streets, in the homes, on the beaches, and in any dining setting anywhere on the island. Sri Lanka's 21 million inhabitants represent a diversity of culture, religions, and languages, each celebrating their own rituals and heritage while respecting and sharing the richness of the others. Peaceful and considerate coexistence has been a hallmark of its people. But for 3 decades, Sri Lanka was held back in its march towards peace and prosperity by an internal conflict which was ended in 2009. The country has made steady advances over the past 12 years, slowly rebuilding and restoring trust. Sri Lanka has been driving reconciliation and unification at the very grassroots. And today, the Northern Peninsula, for so long the site of conflict and destruction, has emerged as a safe and modern region that delivers hope and prosperity to its people. Peace has uplifted Sri Lanka to embrace its true potential. It is a growing hub in South Asia with extraordinary prospects. Its strategic location on the maritime route that connects the east with the west and the natural riches within the island have always given Sri Lanka a significance far beyond its size. Historically, having attracted the attentions of the Dutch and the Portuguese from the 16th to the 18th centuries, Ceylon, as it was then known, was last held by the British Empire until the Declaration of Independence in 1948.
Please remain standing for the Australian National Anthem. Thank you. Please be seated. Well, two great national anthems of two great countries. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again. Well, what a year we've had. This is very different to the last Independence Day. And there was initially some reluctance to do this event virtually, but we thought it was very important in light of the unpredictable restrictions that were being imposed. So here we are today, and we're very grateful for your attendance as well as all of our audience joining us online. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now observe 1 minute silence to remember those who have sacrificed their lives for the sake of the nation. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated. To deliver the official welcome, I'd now like to request that Mr. Vijay Karunase.
අතිපූජනීය ගරුතර මහා සංඝරත්නයන් අවසරයි සෙසු පූජා ප්‍රසාදී තුමන්ලාගෙන් අවසරයි සම්භාවනීය ආරාධිත අමුත්තනි දයාබර දෙමව්පියනි සහෝදර සහෝදරියනි ආදරණීය දූ දරුවනි ආර්ථික සමාජීය සහ සංස්කෘතික සෞභාග්‍ය සමග තිරසර සාමේ රජයන සෞභාග්‍යමත් නව ශ්‍රී ලංකාවක් සඳහා වූ සුබ ප්‍රාර්ථනා සමගින් ඕස්ට්‍රේලියාවේ වික්ටෝරියා ප්‍රාන්තයේ මෙල්බර්න් නුවර පිහිටි කොන්සල් ජෙනරාල් කාර්යාලය වික්ටෝරියා ප්‍රාන්තයේ ශ්‍රී ලාංකික ප්‍රජාව සමග එක්ව සංවිධානය කර ඉදිරිපත් කරනු ලබන ශ්‍රී ලංකා ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදී සමාජවාදී ජනරජයේ 73 වෙනි නිදහස් සැමරුම් උත්සවයේ අභිමානවත් ආරම්භයයි මේ. ශතවර්ෂ 5ක පමණ කාලයක් අධිරාජ්‍යවාදී යටත් විජිත පාලනයක් පැවත ඉන් නිදහස් වීමෙන් පසුව නිදහස් ඒකීය ස්වෛරී ස්වාධීන ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදී රාජ්‍යයක් ලෙස ශ්‍රී ලංකාව තම 73 වෙනි නිදහස් දිනය සමරුම් ලබන අභිමානවත් අවස්ථාවට සැපමින සහ අන්තර්ජාලය ඔස්සේ සහභාගී වන ඔබ සියලු දෙනා සංවිධායක මණ්ඩලය වෙනුවෙන් මා ඉතාමත් සාදරයෙන් සහ ගෞරවයෙන් පිළිගන්නවා. විශේෂයෙන්ම අපගේ ආරාධනය පිළිගෙන මෙහි සැපමින සිටින වික්ටෝරියා පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ මහ ඇමතිතුමා නියෝජනය කරන පාර්ලිමේන්තු මන්ත්‍රී ගැරි මාස් මහතා සහ විපක්ෂයේ බහුසංස්කෘතික කටයුතු පිළිබඳ එම කටයුතු භාර මන්ත්‍රී පාර්ලිමේන්තු මන්ත්‍රී නිල් ඇංගස් මහතා ගෞරව බහුමානයෙන් යුක්තව අප පිළිගන්නවා. 1948 වර්ෂයේදී අප ලැබූ නිදහස තවත් ශක්තිමත් කිරීමටත් මෙම නිදහස ලබා දීමට සහ ඒ තහවුරු කිරීමට අපකැප වූ සිංහල, දෙමළ, මුස්ලිම්, මැලේ සහ බර්ගර් ආදී සියලුම ජනනායකයින් හට දැයි ප්‍රණාමය සහ ගෞරවය පුද කිරීමටත් අප වෙත පැවරී තිබෙන අතිශයින්ම වැදගත් වූ යුතුයකම සහ වගකීම ඉටු කිරීම මෙම සැමරුම් උත්සවයේ විශේෂ කර්තව්‍යයක්. එමෙන්ම මෙම නිදහස් දින සැමරුම් උත්සවය අතීතයේ අප අත්කරගත් ජයග්‍රහණ ආවර්ජනය කිරීමටත් අප ඉදිරියේ ඇති අනාගත අභියෝග පිළිබඳ තක්සේරුවක යෙදීම සඳහාත් එකසේ වැදගත් වූ සන්ධිස්ථානයක්. මෙම අවස්ථාවට සහභාගී වන ඔබට අපේ මාතෘ භූමිය සහ ඒ ජනතාව වෙත සර්ව ආගමික ආශිර්වාදයත් නිදහස් දිනය වෙනුවෙන් වූ පණිවුඩ ශ්‍රවණය කිරීමට අවස්ථාවත් එමෙන්ම ශ්‍රී ලාංකික සංස්කෘතික සහ කලා අංගත් රස විඳීමට පෙළගස්වා තිබෙනවා. එසේනම් මේ අති දුෂ්කර කාල පරිච්ඡේදයේ වික්ටෝරියා රජයේ සෞඛ්‍ය නීති රීතිවලට අනුකූලව පවත්වනු ලබන මෙම උත්සවයේ සමග එක්ව මේ සන්ධ්‍යාව ගත කරන්නට ඔබ සැමට ආරාධනා. ස්තුතියි.
அஸ்ஸலாமு அலைக்கும். குட் ஈவினிங். வணக்கத்துக்குரிய மகாசங்க உறுப்பினர்களே, மத குருமார்களே, இதர பிரமுகர்களே, பெரியோர்களே, தாய்மார்களே, ஸ்ரீலங்காவின் தூதரகம் மற்றும் மெல்பர்னில் உள்ள ஸ்ரீலங்கா சமூகத்தின் இந்த சதாப்தத்தில் மிகவும் கடினமான சூழ்நிலையில் மத்தியிலும் ஏற்பாடு செய்யப்பட்டிருக்கும் ஸ்ரீலங்காவின் 73வது தேசிய சுதந்திர தின விழாவிற்கு உங்கள் அனைவரையும் வரவேற்பதில் மகிழ்ச்சி அடைகிறேன். ஸ்ரீலங்காவின் 73 வருட கால சுதந்திரம், ஒற்றுமை, இறையாண்மை மற்றும் ஜனநாயகம் என்பவற்றை காலனித்துவ ஆட்சியின் கீழ் 5 நூற்றாண்டுகளின் பின்னர் அடைந்ததை நினைவு கூறும் இப்பெருமை மிக்க திருநாள் தருணத்தில் எம்முடன் நேரடியாகவும் ஆன்லைன் ஊடகமாகவும் இணைந்திருக்கும் அனைவரையும் ஒருங்கிணைப்பு குழு சார்பாக வரவேற்பதில் மிக்க மகிழ்ச்சி அடைகிறேன். குறிப்பாக எமது சிறப்பு விருந்தினர்கள் சமூகத்திற்கும் விக்டோரியா மாநிலத்தின் பிரதமர் அவர்களை பிரதிநிதித்துவப்படுத்தும் நரேவரன் சவுத் பாராளுமன்ற உறுப்பினர் மதிப்புக்குரிய கேரி மாஸ் அவர்களையும், பன்முக கலாச்சார நிகழ்வுகளின் நிழல் அமைச்சர் மதிப்புக்குரிய நீல் ஆங்கஸ் அவர்களையும் இந்த நிகழ்வுக்கு வரவேற்பதில் மற்றற்ற மகிழ்ச்சி அடைகிறேன். இலங்கையின் சுதந்திரத்திற்காக வாழ்நாள் முழுவதையும் அர்ப்பணித்து 1948 முதல் இன்று வரை சுதந்திரத்தை உறுதிப்படுத்தி பலப்படுத்தி வரும் சிங்கள, தமிழ், முஸ்லிம், பேக மற்றும் ஏனைய சமூகத்தினர் சார்ந்தவர்களுக்கு வணக்கமும் மரியாதையும் செலுத்துவது இன்றைய நாளில் எமது மிக முக்கியமானதும் பிரதானமான கடமையாகும். அத்தோடு சுதந்திரத்திற்கு பின் ஈட்டிய வெற்றிகளை நினைவுபடுத்தவும் எதிர்கொண்ட சவால்களை மதிப்பீட்டு செய்வதற்கும் இந்த தருணத்தில் நம்மை அழைக்கின்றது. சகோதர சகோதரிகளே, மீண்டும் ஒருமுறை உங்கள் அனைவரையும் இம்மாலை பொழுதில் விக்டோரியா மாநிலத்தின் கோவிட்-19 விதிமுறைகளுக்கு ஏற்ப ஒழுங்குபடுத்தப்பட்டிருக்கும் ஸ்ரீலங்காவின் 73வது சுதந்திர தின வைபவத்திற்கு இணைந்து நிகழ்வை சிறப்பிக்க அழைப்பு விடுக்கின்றோம். உங்கள் அனைவருக்கும் இனிய சுதந்திர தின நல்வாழ்த்துக்கள் உற்சாக. நன்றி.
Ayubowan, Vanakkam, Assalamu alaikum and good evening. Venerable Mahasangha, members of the clergy, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. We are delighted to commence the proceedings of the 73rd Independence Day celebrations of Sri Lanka in Melbourne, organized by the Consulate General of Sri Lanka and the Sri Lankan community in Melbourne, amidst the most difficult circumstances of the era. On behalf of the organizing committee, I have the pleasure of welcoming those who are with us here today in person, as well as all of you joining online to this proud moment of commemorating 73rd year of independence, unity, sovereignty and democracy gained after a long 5 centuries under colonial rule. I have the particular pleasure of welcoming our special guest today, Honorable Gary Mars, MP Narevaram South, representing the Premier of Victoria, and Honorable Neil Angus, Shadow Minister of Multicultural Affairs. The most important and the special duty for all of us on a day like this is to salute and pay our respect to those leaders from all communities, Sinhala, Tamil, Muslim, Burgher, and all other communities in Sri Lanka, who dedicated their lives to gain the independence in 1948 and to ensure and strengthen its henceforth. Also, this is the moment for us to remind ourselves the victories that we have achieved post-independence and to assess the challenges in front of us. Ladies and gentlemen, let me once again invite you to stay with us during this evening to enjoy the celebration of our 73rd Independence Day that we have organized according to the prevailing COVID-19 guidelines in Victoria. I wish you all a happy Independence Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Imtiaz, Frank and Vijay. As is custom with all auspicious events, we will now begin tonight's formalities by lighting the traditional oil lamp. We invite all of our chief guests to come forward to light the oil lamp, and we are virtually joined by the talented singers of Mihindu Children's Foundation, who will be singing the Jayamangala Gatha as our guests light the oil lamp. For those guests that are here, I welcome you, and I also acknowledge the guests that couldn't be here with us. I invite Honourable Gary Mars, MP, Member for Narre Warren, Honourable Neil Angus, Shadow Minister for Multicultural Affairs, Mr. Kapila Fonseca, Consul General, Mr. Vijay Karunasena, Mr. Frank Rajakulendran, Mr. Imtiaz Mohammed, Mr. Dayanathan Sujanathan, Mr. Bandhu Disanaike, Pauline Richards MP, Honourable Craig Ondaatje MP, Honourable Samantha Ratnam MP, Honourable Bronwyn Halfpenny and Honourable Kaushalya Vargala, who are not here joining us tonight, but we acknowledge their presence. We thank all of our guests for lighting the oil lamp and the wonderful singers of Mihindu Children's Foundation. We will at this... who have now stopped. It's now time for the religious observances in Buddhist, in Hindu, in Christian and Islam. So I'll now invite the clergy.
සම්භාවනීය පූජනීය මහා සංඝරත්නයන් අවසරයි අන්‍යාගමික පූජකතුමන්ලා ඇතුළු සම්භාවනීය වාසනාවන්ත පින්තුනි सौभाग्य संपन्न रटक दर्शनीय रटक रमणीय रटक श्रीलंका द्वीप ये सौभाग्य संपन्न रटक इसे මේක විජාතියෙන් රට පිළිබඳ බලාපොරොත්තු වන තබා සියවස් ගණනක් එහි ආධිපත්‍ය දරමින් කටයුතු කළ ආකාරය අපි හැමදෙනාම හොඳට දන්නවා. පෘතුගීසි, ලන්දේසි, ඉංග්‍රීසි ආදී කොට ඇති ඒ සියලු දෙනා අපේ රටට පැමිණුනේ අපට ආදරයට නොව මොන ආකාරයටද කියන කාරණය අපි හොඳ ආකාරව දන්නවා. ඒ නිසා අපේ රටේ ගිහි පැවිදි ජාතිය රට පිළිබඳ හැඟීම් ඇති කරගත් බොහෝ දෙනා මහත් වූ උත්සාහයක පරිශ්‍රමයක යෙදී මීට වසර 73කට පෙර අපේ රට නිදහස් රටක් බවට පත් කරගන්න යෙදුණා. එදා පටන් අපි මේ ආකාරයට අපේ නිදහස පිළිබඳ සතුටු වෙමින් එදිනය අගය කරගන්නවා. ඔස්ට්‍රේලියාවේ වික්ටෝරියා ප්‍රාන්තයේ මෙල්බන් නුවර කොන්සල් තෙන්දාරු තුමන් කබිල් පොන්සේකා මහතා ප්‍රධාන කාර්ය මණ්ඩලයේ පිරිස මේ වසරේ මේ දවස අභිමානවත් ආකාරයෙන් අනුස්මරණය කිරීමට කටයුතු සම්පාදනය කළා. ඒ අනුව බොහෝ දෙනෙකුට අන්තර්ජාලය ඔස්සේ විවිධ තාක්ෂණික නිවලම් භාවිතා කරගෙන මේ සම්භාවනීය අවස්ථාව අනුස්මරණය කරන්නට වගේම දැක බලා ගන්නට අවස්ථාව සලසා තිබෙනවා. අපේ රට යම් ආකාරයකින් විජාතිකයින්ට යටත් වූවා නම් යටත් වීම සඳහා හේතු වුණේ අපගේම යම් දුර්වලකම්ද පදනම් කරගෙන බව අපි හොඳ හැටියට සිහිපත් කරගත යුතු වෙනවා. රටක් වශයෙන් ස්වාධීනත්වයෙන් කටයුතු කරන්නට අද අපි ශක්තිය ලැබුවත් මේ අවස්ථාව වෙනකොටත් අපේ රටට විවිධ ආකාරයේ බලපෑම් එල්ලවීම් පවතින බව අපි හොඳ හැටියට දන්නවා. ඒ නිසා නිදහස සමරන මේ අවස්ථාවේදී අප රටේ සියලුම ජාතීන් එකා මෙන්ම හැඟීම් බර සිටින් රටේ ආරක්ෂාව, අභිවෘද්ධිය, යහපත, සෞභාග්‍ය සඳහා කටයුතු කළ යුතු අවස්ථාවක් හැටියටයි අපි සැලකන්නේ. හැම වසරකම මේ අවස්ථාවේ විවිධ අධිෂ්ඨානයන් ලැබුවත් අපේම පවතින යම් දුර්වලතා මත පටු බලාපොරොත්තු මත අපට තවමත් සස් ලෙස රටේ අභිවෘද්ධිය සඳහා ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙන්න නොහැකි වී තිබෙනවා කියන කාරණය අපට පැහැදිලියි. ඒ නිසා මේ අවස්ථාවේදී නිදහස සමරන මේ මොහොතේ අපි හැමදෙනාම අධිෂ්ඨාන වශයෙන් ඇති කරගත යුතු කාරණය තමයි ඒ පමණීය පින්බර රට, ඒ රටේ පවතින ජාතීන් සමග සම්පන්නව කටයුතු කරමින් රටට ගෞරවය ලැබෙන ආකාරයට, රටේ දියුණුව ඇති වෙන ආකාරයට ක්‍රියාත්මක වීම. ඒ නිසා පූජනීය මහා සංඝරත්නයද මේ අවස්ථාවේ උත්සවයට සම්බන්ධ වෙන්නේ. මේ වකවානුව ලෝකයේ හැමතැනකම වසංගත තත්වයකින් මේක ආකාරී පීඩාකාරී තත්වයකට පත්ව සිටින විලාවක අපේ රටේ දියුණුව සඳහා කටයුතු කරගෙන යන මේ අවස්ථාවේ රටේ පවතින ඒ වසංගත තත්වයන් දුරුවී රටට සියලු ආරක්ෂා සම්පත්තිය සැලසේවා. රට කරවන අයට හොඳ කායික හා මානසික ශක්තිය හා අවබෝධය ඇතිව රටේ අභිවෘද්ධිය සඳහා ක්‍රියාත්මක වීමට ශක්තිය වේවා. තුන්වන්ගේ අනන්ත ගුණ ආශිර්වාදයෙන් අසිරිමත් විද්‍යාශ්‍රී ජයශ්‍රී මහා බෝසත්ණන්ගේ ආශිර්වාදයෙන් දෙවි රැකවරණි රටට සියලු ආකාරයේ අභිවෘද්ධිය යහපත ශාන්තිය වේවා කියන ප්‍රාර්ථනා කරනවා. මෙල්බන් පුරවරයෙහි විහාරස්ථාන රාශියක් පැවතුණා. විහාරස්ථාන තුනක් නියෝජනය කරමින් හාමුදුරුවන් වහන්සේලා විශේෂයෙන් මේ අවස්ථාවේ කොයිත් වසංගත තත්ත්වය නිත්‍යමය තත්ත්වයන් අනුව තීරණයක් කරන් තිබුණි. සියලු දෙනා වහන්සේම ගාථා ධර්මයක් දේශනා කොට අපේ රටට විදාතියට ශාන්තියක් යහපතක් වේවා කියන ප්‍රාර්ථනාවන් කරනවා. භවතු සබ්බ මංගලං රක්ඛන්තු සබ්බ දේවතා සබ්බ බුද්ධානුභාවේන සදා සුත්ති භවන්තු තේ භවතු සබ්බ මංගලං රක්ඛන්තු සබ්බ දේවතා සබ්බ ධම්මානුභාවේන සදා සුත්ති භවන්තු තේ භවතු සබ්බ මංගලං රක්ඛන්තු සබ්බ දේවතා සබ්බ සංඝානුභාවේන සදා සුත්ති භවන්තු තේ.
We always respect our mother country, that is Sri Lanka. We respect always our living country, that is Australia. Today, our Sri Lanka, the 73rd anniversary we are celebrating. In this time, that very, very difficult time, we respect our country. Therefore, I must thank the Consulate General of Sri Lanka to organize this meeting today. Everybody likes the peaceful life. Now, we are unable to decide our future because of this corona, when will it release us. But one thing, now we can decide, we can judge. Up to now we decide and we did. Now we can't decide and do anything. Why it comes? We must think. When we think, only we can realize that we are going other side from the goal. Everybody must to get together and remind Dharmistam, and we must follow Dharmistam. Now only we are knowing the value of Dharmistam. If we follow that and we follow and in our future life, we must go with that Dharmistam. We can live happily. I am very happy today to participate in this function, and I am praying that God, Sri Lanka, Australia, all the people of these countries must live happily. Thank you.
As we come to celebrate our 73rd anniversary as Sri Lankans, Independence Day 73, I wish to invite you to pray with me as I offer our motherland to the Lord. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord, we stand today as our forefathers and mothers have stood before you in times of gone by, celebrating our history and rejoicing in all the great things that our country has achieved. On this day, we thank you for the blessings of liberty, for this generation and for the generations to come. We thank you for our independence and for all those who have bravely given their lives in the defense of freedom and justice. We thank you that your gracious and provident hand has given us so much. Yet, as a nation and people, we have not always chosen the right way. And so we ask you to forgive us for these times. On this day, we commit ourselves anew to the task of ushering in an era when good shall live in the hearts of a free people, and justice shall be the light to guide our feet. Make us a generous people, a holy and just nation, a people set aside to love you and yearn to hold fast to whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, excellent and praiseworthy. For the sake of the people of Sri Lanka and the peoples and nations of this world. Our land is in need of your protection. Our leaders are in need of your wisdom and guidance. Our people are in need of your loving care. Our industry and business are in need of your blessing. Please come now by your Spirit. Breathe new life into the sinews of Sri Lanka. May justice flow like rivers and righteousness like a never-failing stream until the whole of our country is covered with your glory, as the waters cover the sea. We ask all this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, who lives and reigns with you and the Holy Spirit, one God, now and forever. Amen.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Ayubowan, Wanakam, and good evening. With the permission of Venerable Buddhist, Hindu, and Christian clergy, Your Excellency, Consul General Mr. Kapila Fonseca, the chief guests from both aisles of the Parliament, Gary Mars from the Labour Party, and Neil Angus from the Liberal Party, and all the chief guests, and ladies and gentlemen. May peace and blessings of God Almighty be with you all. First of all, I would like to acknowledge the land on which we are standing. The land belongs to the Aboriginal people of this country. I pay respect to their elders, past, present, and emerging. It is my pleasure to be here with you all tonight to celebrate the 73rd anniversary of independence of our motherland, Sri Lanka. It is great privilege for all of us to have a glorious gathering to share our joy of being granted independence 73 years ago, in person and virtually. Vast majority of us would not have even born then, and yet we are proud to celebrate the day, not just to enjoy, but to remember and commemorate the struggles and sacrifices of our forefathers to gain independence. Lest we forget. Lest we forget. National unity was the primary concern for the British and were dilly-dallying with the granting of independence, saying the country will be led to bloodbath in the aftermath of independence in Ceylon then, because certain section of the population were demanding for safeguards. It is in this background Dr. Tuan Burhanuddin Jaya, popularly known as T.B. Jaya, as State Councillor, delivered a speech that lasted 3 hours in November 1944 on the Salisbury Report and White Paper of the Government of the United Kingdom to pave the way for full independence. On this speech, the then leader of the House in the State Council, SWR Bandaranayake, said, credit for the attainment of independence should undoubtedly go to Mr. T.B. Jaya for his historic speech in passing the bill. Former Prime Minister Dudley Senanayake said that Jaya had played an important part in bringing the communities of this country together for the achievement of independence. What an inspirational speech it would have been. What an inspirational leader Dr. T.B. Jaya would have been to attract such accolades from leading personalities like S.W.R.D. Bandaranayake, who possessed golden tongue, and Dudley Senanayake. In the past few weeks, Sri Lankans from all walks of life have been talking about Shukra Munawar, a 17-year-old student, the winner of Sirasa Lakshapati quiz competition. I believe she is our national inspiration at this difficult time in which forces are trying to disunite the community. Not because she won 2 million rupees, but because she won the hearts and minds of 22 million people of Sri Lanka. Her views on the struggles of thousands of students, value of education, Sinhala Buddhist culture, patriotism, unity within diversity, most of all, her language command and proficiency in Sinhala are all stop the nation to think, to reflect, and to rediscover united Sri Lanka once again. With compassion and friendship, with understanding and accommodation, we can achieve greater unity. Let us make this day our inspiration to stand high and mighty. Together, we bloom for a better tomorrow. Slowly but surely, we will reach, if God Almighty wills, the destination of peace and unity in Sri Lanka, as long as we continue to strive for it. Confucius said, it does not matter how slowly you go, as long as you do not stop. In wisdom and strength renewed, ill will, hatred, strife all ended, in love enfolded, a mighty nation marching onward, all as one. Lead us, Mother, to fullest freedom. Namo, Namo, Mata. I wish the Sri Lankans community and Sri Lankan government a peaceful and prosperous Sri Lanka for many more years to come. Oh God, bless us. Thank you.
There were some great messages from all religions there. Thank you all. Next, we have an address by our very own Consul General. Well, last year, the Consulate General Office of Melbourne welcomed a brand new Consul General, Mr. Kapila Fonseca. The past 12 months have certainly been very busy for Mr. Fonseca and his team, particularly in light of the coronavirus crisis, where they have helped hundreds of Sri Lankans affected. Kapila, we thank you and your team. You've done a great job, and we welcome you to the stage.
අයිබෝවන් වණක්කම් අස්සලාමු අලයිකුම් සුබ සන්ධ්‍යාවක් ගරුතර මහා සංඝරත්නය සහ පූජකතුමන්ලා ප්‍රමුඛ ඔබ සියලු දෙනාගෙන් අවසරයි ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ 73 වෙනි නිදහස් දිනය සැමරීම වෙනුවෙන් අද දින පවත්වනු ලබන මෙම උත්සවයට සහභාගී වීමට මෙහි පැමිණ සිටින ගෞරවනීය මහා සංඝරත්නය ඇතුළු පූජකතුමන්ලාද සම්භාවනීය ආරාධිත අමුත්තන්ද අප හා අන්තර්ජාලය ඔස්සේ සම්බන්ධ වන සිංහල දෙමළ මුස්ලිම් බර්ග මැලේ ආදී සියලු ශ්‍රී ලාංකික ඔබ සියලු දෙනාමද මා ඉතා ගෞරවයෙන් පිළිගන්නවා. ඔබ සියලු දෙනා සම්මුඛව හමුවන්නට නොහැකි වුණත් පවතින දුෂ්කරතා මැද්දේ වත් මේ වසරේ නිදහස් සමරුව සෞඛ්‍ය නීති රීති පිළිපදිමින් පවත්වන්නට අපි තීරණය කළා. මේ අවස්ථාවේ ඔබ සියලු දෙනාටම මගේ සුබ පැතුම් එක් කරමින් අසිරිමත් නිදහස් සමරු උළෙලක් අත්විඳින්නට ආරාධනා කරමින් මෙතෙන් සිට මගේ කතාව ඉංග්‍රීසි බසින් සිදු කිරීමට ඔබගේ අවසරය ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා. ස්තුතියි. Venerable Mahasangha and members of the clergy, Honorable Gary Mas, Member of Parliament for Naraywaran South, who is here with us representing the Premier of Victoria, Honorable Neil Angus, Shadow Minister for Multicultural Affairs, who is here representing the opposition leader of the Victoria Parliament, and joining us through online, co-chairs of the Sri Lanka Parliamentary Friends Group in the Victoria Parliament, Honorable Pauline Richards and Honorable Craig Gondashi, and also Honorable Samantha Ratnam, MP and leader of the Green Party Parliamentary Group, Honorable Bronwyn Halfpenny, member for Thomastown, Honorable Kaushalya Wagela, member of the Victoria Parliament, Miss Vivian Nguyen, chairperson Victoria Multicultural Commission, Miss Susan Coles, director Victoria State Office of the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, Miss Kathy Coltas, director Department of Jobs, Precincts and Regions, Mr. James Edwards, Regional Specialist Global Victoria, councillors from various councils in Melbourne, members of the Consular Corps, Mr. S.P. Mohan, Manager Sri Lankan Airlines Melbourne, Mr. Bandhu Disanayaka, our former Honorary Consul in Melbourne, other distinguished dignitaries, children, ladies and gentlemen. It is with great pleasure that I warmly welcome you all to this very special kind of ceremony to mark the 73rd anniversary of Sri Lanka's independence. As you are already aware, this event is live streamed with live as well as pre-recorded segments. We had to resort to reluctantly to a virtual event because of the unprecedented times that we are living in the midst of a pandemic that is wreaking a havoc all over the world. Though we live in a country where it is well contained, we did not want to take any chance. Our decision turned out to be a wise one with the imposition of the latest restrictions in Victoria with recent development just yesterday. Today we are following all the health guidelines and protocols in putting this together. Ladies and gentlemen, During the past 73 years since Sri Lanka's independence in 1948 from the British colonial rule, we have, as a country, gained many social as well as economic advances. We have achieved and retained a high position not only in Asia but in the entire world as a country with high social development indices. For example, our literacy rate of more than 92%, our low child and maternal mortality rates, etc. Those are not mean feats, but are true achievements of long and hard work by some dedicated people post-independent generations in Sri Lanka. These rapid advances after independence, including our free education and free healthcare system, etc., have benefited most of us, including myself, of course. There is no doubt that that is one of the reasons why Sri Lankans were able to travel to, be successful in their respective areas, and settle in Australia, and contribute immensely to enhance the beauty of the multicultural fabric in places like Melbourne. Congratulations to all those Sri Lankan success stories. Despite all these early advances, as we are living in a world of fast changing dynamics, Sri Lanka, as any other country in the world, is faced with many challenges today, including climate change and COVID-19 pandemic. However, I am sure Sri Lankans, as resilient people as they always used to be, will be able to overcome these challenges, united together as one people with respect for one another as fellow Sri Lankans. Let us resolve to do so on this very important day. And I am sure the multitude of ways that you, the Sri Lankans in Australia, particularly in the states of Victoria, South Australia and Tasmania, supported Sri Lanka will continue and grow. Let me make this an opportunity to acknowledge and appreciate the many initiatives of the Sri Lankan associations, community leaders and many individuals to support Sri Lanka. We, the Consulate General, will always be there to assist in your initiatives in all possible ways. Ladies and gentlemen, the state of Victoria and Melbourne are in the forefront of Sri Lanka's relations with Australia. It shares a unique place for Sri Lankans and for Sri Lanka. We have excellent, warm relationship between Sri Lanka and Victoria at all levels. The Victorian government, Parliament of Victoria, the city councils, academic institutions and academics, the private sector, etc. This year, I am sure, we will be able to take it to a new and high level with the recently set up Friends of Sri Lanka group in the Victorian Parliament. I am pleased that the two co-chairs, Honourable Pauline Richards and Honourable Craig Ondache, I believe, and other members, including Honourable Halfpenny, are joining this event online despite the Parliament being in session. I wish Sri Lanka's relations with Victoria, South Australia and Tasmania grow into the future with mutual benefits, and I wish all the Sri Lankans a bright and healthy future ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kapila. A change of pace now, ladies and gentlemen. A performance by Thala Asapur. Well, drums have long held importance in the ceremonial life of people in Sri Lanka, and today you're about to experience a drumming masterpiece, presented and performed by the talented dancers at the Thala Asapur Sri Lankan Dance Academy, who have already done their performance, and you're about to see it virtually.
වලි කන්ටීරේ පොන්නීරේ අලවක දිලවක කවුලු කඩිත්තල වෙත්තිල නයිනාරේ හෝ තාක්කු තච්චෙන් ජපන ප්‍රියාපටු ලහුස්සි බරබර හොස්සෙල්ලා උත්තම කතිමයි හොස්සෙල්ලා
විපාක ලෙස නියඟයෙන් හා ගම් වතුරෙන් එක විට බැට කන జాතියක් බවට අපපත් වී ඇති බැවින් මේ සුන්දර දිවයින යලිත් හරිත වර්ණයෙන් බබලන අනාගත ලෝකයේ තිරසර සංවර්ධනයේ පරමාදර්ශය බවට පත් කිරීමේ වගකීමද අපට පැවරී තිබේ. මේ භූමිය මත සාමය නැමැති බීජය යලි පැල නොවනු ඇතැයි සිතූ යුගයක අපි ඒ සාමය නැමැති පැලය මේ භූමිය මත රෝපණය කළෙමු. එපරිද්දෙන්ම සෞභාග්‍යවත් සුන්දර ශ්‍රී ලංකාවක් අප මේ ලක් භූමිය තුල යලි රෝපණය කර ඔබට පිරිනමන්නෙමු.
வணக்கம். ஜனாதிபதி உரை. நமது அழகிய நாட்டில் வாழுகின்ற அனைத்து இளைஞர் யுவதிகளும் கௌரவமாக வாழக்கூடிய உறுதிமிக்க சுபீட்சமான பொருளாதாரத்தை கட்டியெழுப்ப வேண்டும். அனைவருக்கும் தமது திறமையின் மூலம் இயன்றளவு பயனை பெற்றுக்கொள்ளக்கூடிய தொழிலொன்று காணப்பட வேண்டும். திருப்தியான பிரஜை, மகிழ்ச்சியாக வாழக்கூடிய குடும்பம் மற்றும் சிறந்த பண்பாடுடைய சமூகத்தை உருவாக்குவதே எமது கடமையாகும். உலகெங்கும் இடம்பெறும் இயற்கை அனர்த்தங்களின் விளைவாக ஒரே நேரத்தில் வறட்சி மற்றும் வெள்ளப்பெருக்கினால் பாதிக்கப்படும் மக்களாக நாம் இருக்கின்றோம். எமது இந்த அழகிய திருநாட்டை மீண்டும் ஒரு பசுமையான அழகிய தோற்றத்துடன் எதிர்கால உலகின் சிறப்பான அபிவிருத்தியின் முன் உதாரணமாக திகழ வைக்கும் பொறுப்பும் எம்முடையதாகும். இந்நாட்டில் அமைதி என்ற கனவு மீண்டும் நனவாகாது என்று எண்ணியிருந்த யுகத்தில் நாம் சமாதானத்தின் மூலம் அந்த கனவை நனவாக்கினோம். அது மட்டுமல்லாது மீண்டும் அழகிய ஒரு இலங்கை நாட்டை இப்பூமியில் உருவாக்கி உங்களிடம் கையளிப்போம். நன்றி. மாண்புமிகு ஜனாதிபதி கோட்டபாய ராஜபக்ச. தேங்க்யூ.
Excerpts from Vistas of Prosperity and Splendor, page number 1. The other important task will be to create a progressive national economy and a pluralistic society. We have to create an environment that provides our youth and local entrepreneurs with new opportunities, gives everyone new hope and a sense of pride, where people can use their skills, talents, and business acumen to be the world leaders in any field of their choice. It is only by empowering our people that we can strengthen and expand the national economy. Our responsibility is to create an enabling environment for a citizen to be prosperous and contented, leading to a happy family and a law-abiding society in Sri Lanka. All over the world, environmental degradation has brought about havoc, and parts of our country have experienced severe drought and floods simultaneously. It is therefore our responsibility to make our country an example of sustainable development. At a time when nobody in the world thought it would be possible to bring peace to this country, we brought peace. Similarly, we will make Sri Lanka prosperous and beautiful. I have great faith in our collective ability to do so.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you, Kapila, and thank you, Dayanathan. We now welcome the Honourable Gary Maas MP to say a few words. Gary is a member for Narre South and he's representing the Labor Party and the Premier of Victoria, Mr Daniel Andrews. Please put your hands together for Gary Maas.
Ayubowan, and good evening, and thank you very much to all of you for having me here today, and a very special welcome, of course, to our online audience as well. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land and to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. I'd like to also acknowledge all of the faith leaders who are here today. I'd like to acknowledge the Consul General, Kapila Fonseca, and of course Diana Pereira, Consul, and of course my good parliamentary colleague Neil Angus MP, Shadow Minister for Multicultural Affairs, and also distinguished guests. Thank you very much. As I said, it is a great pleasure to be here. And particularly because I have the pleasure and the opportunity to represent the Premier of Victoria, the Honourable Daniel Andrews, and the Minister for Multicultural Affairs, the Honourable Ros Spence MP. As you can imagine, it is quite busy times at the moment, so they both send their warmest wishes for a wonderful event this evening. I truly am delighted that we can all gather here in person to celebrate this occasion. Sure, in limited numbers, but in person nonetheless. Over the past year, Victorians have worked particularly hard to make events like this a possibility, with a determination to emerge from the pandemic as a state that is stronger than ever. In particular, I would really love to thank Victoria's Sri Lankan community on your efforts, on your tireless efforts to ensure that our state does remain safe, connected and supported. In terms of that connection, I only have to look tonight to see the tremendous effort that you have gone to ensure that this fantastic celebration can still be enjoyed by the wider audience of us just here tonight. The amount of leads and cords and microphones that are running around here and cameras is just indicative of the sorts of efforts that you are making to ensure that all of us can still stay connected, and I thank you very much for that. There's no underestimating the impact of the generosity and commitment shown by community leaders such as yourselves and organisations such as this, who dedicate so much time and assistance to support local communities through such a very difficult time. And we do have a lot to be grateful for here in Victoria, but of course many countries continue to struggle against the spread of the virus. To those of you who may have unwell friends or family, whether it has been here or whether it has been overseas, or may have even lost loved ones, I want to share with you my most heartfelt condolences. I sincerely hope that 2021 brings brighter times ahead for us all. I do want to thank you also for allowing me to join you for this very important event, commemorating the 73rd anniversary of Sri Lanka's political independence. I did find it deeply moving to observe the 1-minute silence in memory of those who sacrificed their lives for the sake of a nation, of a small nation, so that it could be grand and so that it could be great, as well as to be present for the traditional lighting of the oil lamps and the chanting. I understand Sri Lanka's Independence Day is an occasion to reflect on the importance of unity, marked by performances, ceremonies and religious observances. Indeed, unity has never been more vital than during the unprecedented situation we have found ourselves in, and it continues to be important in 2021 as we begin our recovery. Victoria is, of course, proud to be home to an ever-growing Sri Lankan community. I truly have been blessed to have been a part of a Sri Lankan community and indeed a Sri Lankan family as I have grown up. My Burger parents and my 2 older brothers migrated to the suburb of Springvale back in 1968 when I was but a twinkle in my father's eye. 2 years after that, I was born, and the tremendous thing about growing up at that time in the 1970s in outer suburban Melbourne, was to have new relatives continuing to come over throughout the 70s. And I saw relatively small family gatherings of just uncles and aunties move to much greater than that, with uncles, aunties, cousins, second cousins, third cousins, fourth cousins. And I realised very quickly that the notion of family in Sri Lanka is really an extended notion of family, and it is a grand thing. And I got the sense of the notion of collectivity at a very young age, and it is a value that has stuck with me ever since that time. It's a value I hold dear to me now, and it is indeed a value that I try to instill in my children. And as I said, I am completely blessed to have been brought up in that kind of environment and in that kind of family. But the contributions of the wider Sri Lankan family collective to our state's cultural, social and economic life has really enriched it greatly. The Victorian government has been pleased to support Sri Lankan communities to go from strength to strength in recent years, from the significant funding for the Victorian Tamil Community Centre and also the Euroke Centre to recent funding committed to help communities respond to the pandemic. It is only through partnering together that we have been able to navigate these challenges as a state and emerge even stronger. I'd like to close now, but I'd like to thank you all once again for inviting me to join you this evening. And on behalf of the Victorian Government, I wish you all a very happy Independence Day and, of course, a peaceful and prosperous year ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. We now welcome Honourable Neil Angus MP, the Shadow Minister for Multicultural Affairs and representing the Liberal Party, and the Leader of the Opposition, Mr Michael O'Brien. Please put your hands together for Neil Angus.
I'd like to acknowledge our host this evening, Your Excellency the Consul General of the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka in Melbourne, Honourable Kapila Fonseca, the faith leaders that are present here tonight, my parliamentary colleague, Mr Gary Mars, State Member for Narre Warren South, my many fellow parliamentary colleagues that are watching online, and I've had some texts from some of them already, so some of them are still sitting, but they're trying to sneak out and watch the proceedings as much as they can. Also to the other community leaders that are here and also online, members of the Consulate Corps, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your warm welcome and a very happy new year to everybody tonight. The Leader of the Opposition, the Honourable Michael O'Brien, sends his apologies and best wishes to everyone for an enjoyable Independence Day celebration. It's a great honour for me to be with you here as we come together to celebrate the joyous occasion of the 73rd anniversary of the independence of Sri Lanka. It's a joyous time for Sri Lankan people around the world, and it is an opportunity to reflect on Sri Lanka's proud history and the relationship between our two great nations. This is a wonderful time of year when Victoria's Sri Lankan community unite in the spirit of togetherness, although, as Gary said, it's clearly different this year than it has been in previous years. It is a time for all Sri Lankans to come together and reflect on the best of your country's culture and traditions and to celebrate the richness of your diversity. With the onset of the COVID-19 restrictions, this year's celebrations will be enjoyed by all virtually. But today's celebration provides a fine example to all Victorians where communities are encouraged to celebrate their culture and traditions and to share these with the community, even if it is virtually. Our state is already a leading example of the many ways in which cultural, linguistic and religious diversity can enrich all aspects of society, including social, cultural and economic life. And we encourage all our multicultural communities to share their traditions with the wider community. We must be committed to continue to work closely with the multicultural sector to ensure Victoria remains the vibrant, harmonious and cosmopolitan state that we are today. Cultural diversity is part of the Australian story, from the distinct languages and beliefs of our Indigenous cultures to the legacy of migration that followed. This country has always been multicultural. Diversity defines us and underpins Victoria's identity as a community. A successful multicultural society accepts that diversity is central to its future. As Victorians, we are privileged to live in such a vibrant and cohesive multicultural society. If cultural diversity is nurtured, harnessed and respected, it can engender a more creative, productive and harmonious society. The Liberal Nationals Coalition is firmly committed to a diverse, multi-faith and multicultural society. Victorians overwhelmingly embrace and champion our diversity as a source of pride. We recognise that Victoria's identity, success and strength is a tapestry of many faiths, cultures and languages. While we have long been heralded as a multicultural success story, it is important to recommit ourselves to this ambition. Victoria's Sri Lankan community has made an enduring contribution to our state. Our Sri Lankan community has contributed to all aspects of our social and economic growth. The impact of this to Victoria's success continues to be far-reaching across all aspects of social, economic and political growth. And I want to take this opportunity to recognise the vital role that our Sri Lankan community plays in the success of Victoria. Our diverse and prosperous society is all the richer for your immense and continued contribution. So, ladies and gentlemen, both here and online, I wish you all a wonderful celebration. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Neil. Ladies and gents, next we have a beautiful dance item performed by the talented dancers at Vishwa Rangayatane. The dance is called Giri Devi, representing the low country dance traditions in Sri Lanka. The story depicts the story of a princess locked in a stone cave by her parents. The dance is choreographed by the talented Rashika Kulasinghe. Please give them a warm round of applause as they join us online.
Ah හරිය කනරන්ගිරි දේවියට පේනුහාස කැති සේමය ළමද පිට පේනු වෙලා එනවා සිත නුරාවට ගෑනු පිරු ගති රැඟිදල කුවරු හට
Next, ladies and gents, we have one of the most important segments of the evening, which is to celebrate the Year 12 VC High Achievers. Of course, as we know, they faced an incredible challenge last year, learning from home. The recipients have already been awarded their trophies and certificates, and we will shortly display the video of that. We acknowledge this year's High Achievers Seneru Mudanayaka, Kavinath Karunaratna, Harini Jivaraj, Nisuli Manamperi, Kusalaven Sivadas, Amanda Samarasekara, Siobhan Fernando, Henry Pereira, Ramudu Ratnayaka, Adrian Desaram, Kaviyan Siri Patmasiri, and the top scorer for the Sinhala language, Ms. Vimasha Ashton. Congratulate all of our Year 12 high achievers and some very proud parents that we could see. Ladies and gents, well, we've reached the end of the night, and I now welcome Consul Diana Pereira to deliver the vote of thanks.
Venerable Mahasangha and other religious dignitaries, honorable MPs, distinguished dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen. It is a privilege and a great honor for me to extend a vote of thanks to all those who have contributed to make this event a success. At the outset, let me thank religious dignitaries for conducting multi-faith religious observances and blessing our country and its people on this very important day. It symbolized how different religions coexist in Sri Lanka and how important is their blessings for the country and its people. Honorable Gary Mas and Honorable Neil Angus, thank you for representing the state government of Victoria and the opposition. We are extremely grateful to both of you for being with us this evening in spite of your busy schedules. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight you witnessed a number of elegant Sri Lankan cultural performances. We are thankful to the dance troupes of Thala Sapur, Vishwarangayatanya, Rangana and Udumbara Dance Troupe, Pravaha Dancing Foundation, and Rangani Kalayatanya for adding vibrant colors to this event. Let me extend our sincere thanks to Mrs. Vinita Vijayaratne for making arrangements for chanting of Jayamangala Gatha, Mr. Vijay Karunasena, Mr. Frank Rajakulendran, and Mr. Imtiaz Mohammed, thank you all very much for delivering the introductory remarks in Sinhala, Tamil and English respectively. Mr. Dayananthan Sujanthan, thank you for reading the President's Independence Day message in Tamil. Many thanks to our wonderful compeer Sachit Fernando. Such, once again, you have guided the program through flawlessly. Thank you, Mr. Chandrasiri Hettiarachige of Blue Sky Caravan for continuously sponsoring VCE Awards. I also thank both print and electronic Sri Lankan media in Melbourne for the wider publicity given to the event. Thank you, Mr. Rashan Samsul, for making the elegant floral arrangements of the event. Thank you, Mr. Rajitha Gunathilaka and Mr. Aruna Dasanayaka for being our multimedia operators for the event. Thank you, Mr. Dasun Ranasinghe, for designing all the stage backgrounds. Thank you, Mr. Bandhu Disanayaka, for the excellent support extended to us by providing video coverage facility today. Without you, valuable support today's event would have not been transmitted to all our viewers online. Thank you, Mr. Tyrone Pereira, Magic Lab Australia, for assisting us with the still photography. Also, I would like to extend our sincere thanks to Mr. and Mrs. Bannahek of Taj Transport for providing transport for the religious dignitaries. Our appreciation also extends to officials of the Asian Pacific Service Officers for providing the venue for the event and the excellent support provided. I also like to thank the staff of the Consulate General for their hard work behind the screen in making this event a success. I also like to thank the staff, last but not least, all viewers of today's event through our Facebook and YouTube. Thank you all for taking your time to join the celebration of the 73rd anniversary of independence of Sri Lanka. Thank you for taking your time out after the end of a working day to join with us. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, Diana, and on behalf of all of us, we all thank you, Aruna, Kapila, and your entire team for putting on a fantastic event. To those of us joining us online, thank you for joining us. We now leave you with some fantastic performances from a number of Sri Lankan dance academies. Pravaha Dancing Foundation, Rangani Kalaya Tanya, and Rangana Udumbara Dance Troupe. We thank them and their students for their performances. To everyone here, thank you again for your participation today, and we hope to see you again in 2022. Thank you.
All us can take a photo here. Thank you.
අරුණට පළමුව පිබිදී පැසගෙන මැටි පොළ දෙසට යතෙයි පැස පිස දමලා මැටි පොළ පායා ඉටු දේවියන් වාදිතෙයි දිය කඩ ඇදලා තුසිනි අතටගෙන වල ඇතුළට බසිදෙයි දෙවුර නොකඩලා මැටි කඳ බිඳලා පැස පුරවා ගනිතෙයි ආනත් දොමිකිට තදිනත් දින දින මුසිමුරි තත්තානම් තානත් දොමිකිට තදිනත් දින දින මුසිමුරි තත්තානම් බිඳලා මැටි කඳ අරගෙන බරටම මිදුලේ අයිනක ගොඩ කරතේ ලිහලා කැටක විතරට පොඩි කර මා පැදුරේ අවුවේ වනතේ වේලාගෙන මැටි ගල් කැට වෙන් කර වානෙන් කොටා කුල්ලෙන් පොළතේ පොළලාගත් පිටි එක පමණට දිය ගහලා නලා කැටි කරතේ
අනතම්ද නත්තන තම්දන තානා